Well, yesterday's speech by President Ahmadinejad of Persia was notable not only for its tone and attitude of basically anti-American imperialism, which we had expected, but it also chose to question exactly what authority and by what circumstance the United Nations was judging Iran's progress on nuclear issues or anything else. They said, and it is demonstrably true, that the deck is stacked at the United Nations. The General Assembly of 175 nations doesn't mean doodly squat, because the only authority that the United Nations claims to have lies with the Security Council. And the Security Council is at the will of the 5 nations whose only common point is that they were all on the same side and won the Second World War 50-some years ago. Is that really the criteria upon which we are going to choose the leadership of a united and democratic world? I mean, come on, man. Let's get real. The United Nations was created as a tool of the Western nations, capitalism, corporatism, and all of the other benefits, dangers of the Western economic system. The Cold War was a battle between communism, in which the means of production are used for the good of the people by the government in their favor, theoretically, and capitalism, where the good of the people is served by everybody getting a job and working for wages. The point here is that the United Nations has never been an effective tool except for the myriad programs that it runs, which at worst are better than nothing, and in some cases have had some serious results. Food aid programs, development programs, things of that nature. Many of them have been abused. Many of them have become the crux for corruption in local third world governments and elsewhere. But some of them have worked. Some places did get a well dug, and there is good water for the people. It's a department store. And to most of the 175 nations, to whom whether Iran gets a nuclear weapon or not is really not their number one problem, to most of those nations, the membership in and participation in UN programs and systems is strictly a benefit in terms of funding and programs that their nation can use or that they can make a little money off of on the side. As far as having any real authority to do anything in terms of massive international policy questions, the UN has no cojones. If we want to make the UN into a world government, which question should be raised before we decide to do it, we are going to have to, among other things, create a United Nations military, a group who will be able to handle and essentially put down local rebellions and military problems in those areas where they crop up. Trying to get volunteers from one or another nation to send a few troops to some force that is going to stand around in blue berets and helmets while the massacres continue is not an answer. The United Nations in the next 10 years has got to either step up to its responsibilities as a world governor and police, or it's going to become as obsolete as many in the Republican Party particularly seem to believe it is. And that's enough news for now. I'm Travus T. Hipp on the Pig on the Radio. None of the foregoing commentaries and opinions have in any way reflected reality as perceived by this station, its management, owners, sponsors, or staff, but are solely the responsibility of myself and Cabal News Services.